Welcome everyone to our group alignment.
Please start for us.
Into the new world, my first message. You who gave the ashram, and you who gave 2 lives, proclaim, builders and warriors, strengthen the steps. Reader, if you have not grasped, read again after a while. The predestined is not accidental. The leaves fall in their time, and winter is but the harbinger of spring. All is revealed, all is attainable. I will cover you with my shield if you tend to your labors. I have spoken. I am your bliss. I am your smile. I am your joy. I am your rest. I am your strength. I am your valor. I am your wisdom.
Let us align as one. One soul with all souls.
Our immediate concern is the bringing about a group unity rooted in love, and this requires the awakening of the heart center into greater potency. Only from the heart center can stream, in reality, those lines of energy which link and bind together. Your group meditation or form will stimulate the heart into action, linking the heart center between the shoulder blades to the head center through the medium of the heart center, which is found within the head center, the 1,000-petaled lotus.
This heart center in the head, when adequately radiatory and magnetic, will relate you afresh to each other and to all the world. This again, when connected by an act of the spiritual will to the solar plexus center, will help to produce that telepathic interplay which is so much to be desired and which is so constructively useful to the spiritual hierarchy, provided it is established within a group of pledged disciples dedicated to the service of humanity. They can then be trusted. So, Ben, will you lead us as we make our pledge?
A statement made by the disciple to the soul. I pledge myself to the path of love I demand of my soul that I, the spirit in form, shall act as a channel of compassion and an instrument of love until I know myself to be love itself. I am that love. With pure intent, I serve. To this, in knowledge full, I pledge myself.
Capricorn is ever the sign of conclusion, and of this the mountaintop is frequently, though not always, the symbol, for it marks the point beyond which further ascent in any particular life cycle is not possible. Capricorn is therefore the sign of what has been called esoterically periodic arresting. Progress becomes impossible under the existing form, and there has to be the descent into the valley of pain, despair, and death before a fresh attempt to scale the heights takes place.
Capricorn is ever
One of the four types of force affect what might be called the personality of our Earth. The quality of the Earth's complementary planet, which is the Earth's polar opposite, esoterically considered. This planet is Venus, not only the hierarchical ruler of Capricorn, but also the ruler of the second decade of Capricorn, the exoteric ruler of Taurus, and the ruler of Libra and Gemini. Integrating the energies of Capricorn. As a discipleship group, from her crown, the heart of the head.
The heart, as an aspect of pure reason, requires careful consideration. It is usually considered the organ of pure love, but from the angle of the esoteric sciences, love and reason are synonymous terms, and I would have you reflect upon why this should be. Love is essentially a word for the underlying motive of creation. Motive, however, presupposes purpose leading to action, and hence, in the group life task of the incarnating monad, there comes a time when motive, heart and soul, becomes spiritually obsolete, because purpose has reached a point of fulfillment, and the activity set in motion is such that purpose cannot be arrested or stopped. The disciple cannot then be deterred, and no hindrance or difficulty is hard enough to prevent his moving forward. Then we have eventual destruction of what theosophists call the causal body, and the establishing of a direct relation between the monad and its tangible expression upon the physical plane. The head center and the center at the base of the spine will be in direct unimpeded relation. Monadic will and personality will, likewise, will be in a similar unimpeded relation via the antakarana. I would have you remember that the will aspect is the final dominating principle. In the group application of these ideas, the same basic and profound development must take place, and a group of disciples must be distinguished by pure reason, which will steadily supersede motive, merging eventually into the will aspect of the monad, its major aspect. It is, technically speaking, Shambhala in direct relation with humanity.
This links our studies directly to the science of the Antakarana. For as we step on the path, we begin this process of the development of love wisdom to the point of pure reason. And Capricorn itself is connected directly to the science of initiation. Generally, the third initiation as the achievement of the mountaintop. But as DK tells us, in terms of group, it also can relate to the fourth initiation.
I am one with my group brothers, and all that I have is theirs. May the love of the one soul pour forth to all. May the energy of the one soul lift and aid all. May the thoughts which the soul creates reach and encourage all. May the energy of the divine self be spread abroad in our hearts, through our groups, and throughout the world. The keynotes of Capricorn: concretization, crystallization, consequence, conclusion. Capricorn is, as a consequence of all the above, the sign in which is inaugurated a new cycle of effort. Whether this effort is in connection with the individual man or with the initiate. Effort, strain, struggle, the fight with the forces native to the underworld, or the strenuous conditions entailed by the tests of discipleship or initiation. These are distinctive of experience in Capricorn.
Capricorn, the light of initiation. This is the light which clears the way to the mountaintop and produces transfiguration, thus revealing the rising sign. Strength, strain, struggle, survive, surmount, summit, solemnize. Keywords. And the word said, let ambition rule and let the door stand wide. The underlying theme of that Capricorn. On the ordinary wheel, the key to evolutionary urge, to the secret of rebirth, and of that word which reverberates from Cancer to Capricorn.
In Capricorn, the initiate learns to realize the meaning of the growing light which greets his progress as he climbs upward to the mountaintop. The flashes of intuition with which he is becoming familiar change into a blazing and constant light of the soul, irradiating the mind and providing that point of fusion, which must ever be the fusion of the two lights, the greater and the lesser light, to which I referred in a treatise on white magic. The light of the personality and the light of the soul blend.
Lost am I in light supernal, and yet on that light I turn my back. For the initiate there remains no goal but service. The qualities of Capricorn: strength, spiritual courage, service, and endurance. We enter into the stage of recognition very rapidly, holding our consciousness steadily in the mind. We recognize our pledged discipleship. We recognize our equipment, gratefully rendered. We recognize our achieved alignment. We recognize the soul, the source of love wisdom. We recognize the hierarchy.
May I repeat, I am not writing a treatise upon astrology, but one upon the 7 rays and their equivalent and corresponding energies, upon the effects of ray energy and the interplay of these energies with and their effect upon the various planetary forces, particularly those of the Earth. I am looking for these fair-minded astrologers to make due experiment with the factors and suggestions which I may indicate. With this in mind, let us proceed. I have pointed out that these energies fall into 3 groups. Those coming from certain great constellations, which are to be found active in relation to our solar system, and which from the most ancient days have always been related in myth and legend to our system. To these constellations, ours is related in a peculiar way. Those coming from the 12 zodiacal constellations, these are recognized as having a definite effect upon our system and our planetary life. Those coming from the planets found within the periphery of the sun's sphere of influence, First ray, Saturn. Third ray via Saturn. Fifth ray via Venus. Seventh ray via Saturn.
The keynotes of Capricorn are all indicative of a crystallization process. This concretizing faculty of Capricorn can be considered in several ways. First of all, Capricorn is an earth sign, and in it we have expressed the densest point of concrete materialization of which the human soul is capable. Man is then of earth, earthy, and is what the New Testament calls the first Adam. In this sense, Capricorn holds in itself the seeds of death and finality, the death which takes place finally and eventually in Pisces. Ponder on this.
And when we approach Pisces, in that pre-full moon, we will consider this question and statement in much greater detail in relation to the planetary influences. And we always keep in mind the relationship to the science of the rays and the virtues that must be developed when we have the opportunity of the influence of these particular rays. The first ray, third ray, fifth ray, and seventh ray in Capricorn. And those virtues to be developed. Tolerance, patience, tenderness, sympathy, humility, devotion, accuracy, energy, common sense, sympathy, love, wide-mindedness, reverence, gentleness, realization of unity.
Ruling planets. Saturn is both the exoteric, orthodox, and esoteric or soul ruler of Capricorn. Until the third initiation, when the initiate consciously mounts the cardinal cross and is then released from the ruling of Saturn. Saturn is one of the most potent of the four lords of karma and forces man to face up to the past and in the present to prepare for the future. Such is the intention and purpose of karmic opportunity. From certain angles, Saturn can be regarded as the planetary dweller on the threshold. For humanity as a whole has to face that dweller, as well as the angel of the presence. And in so doing, discover that both the dweller and the angel are that complex duality which is the human family. Venus is the hierarchical ruler of Capricorn. Venus is governor or ruler of the hierarchy, which is that of the crocodiles. Therefore, our focus on the essential relations, fourth and fifth,
Ruling planets. The aspirant, therefore, has three things to do: purify, discipline, and transmute his threefold lower nature: physical, astral, mental vehicles. Develop knowledge of himself and equip his mental body. Build the causal body by good deeds and thoughts. Serve his race in utter self-abnegation.
Through Saturn and Venus, therefore, Capricorn is connected with Libra and also with Gemini and Taurus. And these four constellations, Taurus, Gemini, Libra, and Capricorn, constitute a potent quaternary of energies, and between them produce those conditions and situations which will enable the initiate to demonstrate his readiness and capacity for initiation. They are called the guardians of the four secrets. Taurus guarding the secret of light and conferring illumination upon the initiate. Gemini guarding the mystery or secret of duality and presenting the initiate with a word which leads to the fusion of the greater pairs of opposites. Libra guarding the secret of balance, of equilibrium, and finally, speaking the word which releases the initiate from the power of the lords of karma. And finally, Capricorn, guarding the secret of the soul itself. Capricorn, guarding the secret of the soul itself, revealing to the initiate at the time of the third initiation. The secret of the soul itself, called the secret of the hidden glory.
Eventually, at the close of the next root race, the sixth root race, you will have the full expression of love, and the lotuses up the spine will appear, all 5 of them, differing only in the number of petals found in each. Finally, at the close of the great world cycle, when all the lotuses have reversed themselves, all will be opening and presenting free channels for the inflow and the transmission of the 3 major divine energies and the 4 lesser forces. At this point in humanity's development evolution, it is important for us to note, as we studied, that there are flows of force moving through the etheric body into the dense physical body, and to maintain a free flow of these forces allows for health and vitality.
Though we may be so far from the close of the next root race, given we are in the fifth root race, fifth sub-race, the dawning of the sixth root race will emerge. The sixth root race, first sub-race. And the intuition will actually be present in humanity, potentially or predicted to be at the sixth root race, fourth subrace. So this full expression of love and the lotuses appearing up the spine, the 5 of them, not coming until the end of the sixth root race. I think this is a fact that many overlook in our hurry to achieve the next step.
These forces seeking inlet into the dense vehicle are emanations from 3 directions, if I may use such a term. From the personality vehicles, the astral and mental bodies. From the soul, if contact, recognized or unrecognized, has been established. From the environing world, to which the vehicles of the soul and of the personality have acted as doors of entrance. Incidentally, in connection with this last phrase, I would call your attention to a possible relation between these doors of entrance and the phrase door of initiation.
And we are told further in the teachings that the first key is the unlocking of the door of the ajna center, following the lifting of the solar plexus energy to the heart, as we begin to establish opening the vortices of the causal body in the 3 tiers, this interconnection of knowledge, love, and sacrifice. This light of the initiation clears the way to the mountaintop and produces transfiguration. And in making the connection in this science of relationship or science of relations to the science of the rays, the 3rd ray, the weaver, the magician, the keynote purpose itself am I, achievement of stillness in the truest sense. the stillness of truth, the instinct to formulate a plan. I am the worker and the work, the one that is. The presented attribute, the love of truth must dominate. The power to manifest, the power to produce, the power to evolve. Synthesis on the physical plane. The third ray, the synthetic ray for the 4 rays of attribute. Mental illumination, scientific investigation, balance. And further, for our study of the science of the rays.
The 7th ray, the magician, the ritualist. Magically fostering the interplay of the science of triangles, the science of the centers and science of the rays, the science of relationships, the science of the Antakarana. The highest and the lowest meet. Orientation. The interplay of the great dualities. The creative work is over. I, the creator, am. Presented attribute. The love of truth must dominate. The power to create. The power to cooperate. The power to think. The power to vivify. Revelation of the beauty of God. Mental power. Love not the work. Let love of God's eternal plan control your life, your mind, your hand, your ego.
Under the third ray, the synthesis of the 4 rays of attribute. The 7th ray, the synthetic ray of manifestation. Let love not the work. Let the plan control your life, your mind, your hand, your ego. We visualize the triangles superimposed that we are given with the circulating energies or earth signs and Venus. With the first ray, the Pleiades, and the second ray, there's a transmission of energy from that cosmic level via Taurus, Capricorn, and Virgo, transmitting energy then into our solar system via these planets, Vulcan, Saturn, and Mercury. And for our planet, all qualified by the energy of Venus, reaching the following centers: the planetary head center, Shambhala, the planetary heart center, hierarchy, and the planetary Ajna center, the new group of world servers, the bridging group, until humanity has evolved to assume the role of planetary Ajna center in the 6th root race.
You will note how, in this great sign of initiation, Capricorn, Saturn reveals the nature of the third aspect of divinity, the nature of intelligent substance. Venus reveals the nature of the second aspect, which is consciousness or intelligent love, whilst the Sun, the physical Sun, and the heart of the Sun together reveals the synthesis of these two.
And we are given in the science of triangles this great triangle of the Great Bear, the Pleiades, and Sirius, connecting Saturn and Venus and the Sun through Leo. As we move forward in this cycle of zodiacal signs, as we move into 2025, we'll consider in greater depth the relationship of the science of the triangles and the science of the centers. For DK tells us a close study of these energy streams will demonstrate two major movements: a downflow of energy from an emanating center and leading to its merging with a center of reception and qualification, and to transmission to and its evocative effect upon a second point or focal point of reception. And we use this diagram, and we will look at it in greater detail later in one of our next Sundays, coming up Sundays. This distributing center, though, at the base, it tells us, can be a solar system, but it can also be one of the centers in the human etheric body. And he does tell us to realize that the diagram and this subsequent statement describes each of us, our own involutionary and evolutionary history, and it depicts the interplay of monadic life, soul energy, and personality force as these three focus on the physical plane, producing manifestation and appearance. And this is such an important clue to all of us in terms of how to attend to, receive, and distribute the energies that we are receiving in our individual, in our group, and in our national centers. So let us say, with love and aspiration, we strive towards understanding. Let wisdom take the place of knowledge in our group life. As we move forward in this calendar year, we'll look in greater depth at the different centers and the relationship of the triangles with the science of the centers. In this particular preparation for the Capricorn full moon, encourage everyone to take particular care in relation to the Ajna center, its relationship with Venus, the fifth ray. And it is the most important center for the aspirant, disciple, and mystic, dominant only after the second initiation, but so many are approaching the second. It relates to the pituitary body within the physical vehicle, the lower brain, left eye, eye of Manas, and interestingly to the nose. What is the scent that you are aware of? What are you sensing with the eye of Manas and the sense of smell? The Ajna center relates to soul force, to love, magnetic light, intuition, and vision. The origin, the petals of the egoic lotus as a whole. It's very critical to consider that, the senses of the egoic lotus as a whole. And the body of manifestation, the higher mental plane, the causal body, and the Buddhic vehicle. Our focus for development in this triangle of the head, heart, and ajna, leading to the third initiation, where the triangle is the head, the heart, the throat, and the 7 head centers. It's a critical center for us to really understand this diagram with the symbols, this illustration of the Hindu tradition and the higher planes in relation to the ajna system as a whole, takes us up the Antakarana to the hierarchy, to the Christ, and then even higher. We'll look at this in more depth as we move along, approaching the Wesak festival. We'll look in greater depth at the Ajna center as the center through which the 4th creative hierarchy on its own plane finds expression, relating us to the spiritual triad, that expression of the monad in the formless worlds, and to the personality. He tells us to ponder on this statement, the Ajna center relating us to the spiritual triad, the expression of the monad in the formless worlds, because that actually helps us to better understand this particular rendering of the Ajna system. As we have here the symbolism of the head center, physically considered, and the reflection of spiritual will, Atma, and spiritual love, Buddhi. So we will look further into the relationships in the triangle that is developing on the right-hand side that we've seen so often in the past, the relationship of humanity, of Shambhala to hierarchy and hierarchy to humanity. And this continuously developing now, so that in the future, probably in the 6th root race, at that point of development, fully of the intuition, at the 6th root race, 4th sub race, the triangle actually closing with humanity's direct relationship to Shambhala, leading to the 7th root race. So much to consider in the future, and we'll look at this in greater depth. But for now, it's just for us to concentrate on this great important center, the ajna center between the eyebrows, in the region of the head, eventually becoming unified with the head center itself. It acts as a screen for the radiant beauty and the glory of the spiritual man. Corresponds to the physical sun and is the expression of the personality. It achieves this functioning activity fully by the time of the third initiation. It's related to the creative thread of life. And there's an active interplay once it is established between the ajna center and the throat center. Produces this creative, magnetic, manifested expression of the divine idea on the part of the initiate. That is why we're including this now as we're in this series of ideas and ideals, to keep relating what Master DK gives us that eventually leads us further into understanding the science of the Antakarana and the science of initiation. So we'll go into this in much greater depth, reading the full statements. But for now, what it does is it helps us understand the key to making this progress to the mountaintop.
Progress to the mountaintop. Identification. The Mount of Transfiguration in the New Testament is Venus in Capricorn, when love and mind and will meet in the person of the Christ, and he was transfigured before all men. The astrological significance of the New Testament is as yet little understood. Christ was born in Capricorn, fulfilled the law under Saturn, initiated the era of intelligent brotherhood under Venus, and is the perfect example of the Capricornian initiate who becomes the world server in Aquarius and the world savior in Pisces, thus completing the round of the zodiac and able to say triumphantly in Pisces, "It is finished."
So in the next 2 cycles of service in Aquarius and of sacrifice in Pisces, we have much to consider in relation to the ajna center and the connectivity in triangles to the other centers along the path of initiation. Leading us from soul consciousness to group consciousness. At the 4th initiation, triadal consciousness.
The Cardinal Cross. As you already know, Capricorn is one of the 4 arms of the Cardinal Cross. The significance of the energies working out into our solar system through the medium of the 4 arms of this cross, or from the 4 constellations Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, can be summed up in the 4 words creation for Aries, manifestation for Cancer, legislation for Libra, and initiation for Capricorn. Having given you these words, their very scope and meaning make it hard for you to understand. First, through a study of the cardinal cross, Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, the astrologer can arrive at a clearer understanding A. Of ordinary, individual, human beings. B. Of group beginnings. C. Of the significance of the first initiation. Is this also a blind? The third initiation being the first?
Much to ponder, but particularly to note at this point that as our groups are moving forward, this marks for us at this full moon a group beginning. So let us ponder on that in relation to all of our groups, and particularly in relation to the ashramic group with which you are affiliated. And we will look further in Aquarius at what we can ascertain related to the new group of world servers, the Ajna Center of the planetary logos at this time. And we say with purpose and determination, I strive towards comprehension. Thy will, not mine, be done.
It would repay the student to contemplate the interesting succession of triangles that are to be found and the way in which they must be linked by the progression of the fire before that fire can perfectly vivify them, and thence pass on to other transmutations. We might enumerate some of these triangles, bearing always in mind that according to the ray, so will proceed the geometric rising of the fire, and according to the ray, so will the points be touched in ordered sequence. Herein lies one of the secrets of initiation, and herein are found some of the dangers entailed in a too quick publication of information concerning the rays.
And therefore, we use Master DK's advice from a treatise on white magic. Know thyself, proceed slowly and with caution. And in our study of these triangles and the centers, we won't be working with how that appears in a particular individual, but to assist us all in better understanding these triangles as they apply on a higher level in relation to nations and humanity. And we will begin to include some of the secondary centers. He gives us an analysis of the three groups of triangles which are of major importance to humanity at this time and which follow upon information earlier given. These emanate energies which reach through space to the individual and therefore cannot be ignored. And we use these as superimposed triangles. In various meditations and invoke these energies. The energies of the Great Bear, the Pleiades, and Sirius, through Leo, Capricorn, and Pisces, to Saturn, Mercury, and Uranus, into and through the extraplanetary triangle of the avatar synthesis, the spirit of peace, and the Lord Buddha, and then to the head center, Shambhala, the Ajna center, the new group, and the planetary heart center, hierarchy. And through the assistance and radiatory impact of Venus to the disciples' head center, the disciples' Ajna center, and the disciples' heart center, eventually controlling the base of the spine, the throat center, and the solar plexus center. This gives us hints related to the path of initiation, the centers, and the activity of the various triangles and where that distributing energy or force is found.
Let us align and sound a statement to the personality made by you, the soul, the disciple. In the center of the will of God I stand. Naught shall deflect my will from His. I implement that will by love. I turn towards the field of service. I, the triangle divine, work out that will within the square and serve my fellow men.
So in approaching the Capricorn full moon, know that the Ajna center registers or focuses the intention to create at this time of new beginnings. Not in the same sense as the throat center, but it embodies the idea lying behind active creativity. And the subsequent act of creation during the days of distribution and after, producing eventually the ideal form for the idea. It's why we're doing this at the time that we've introduced Meditation 5. The Ajna is very, very closely related to the throat chakra, and the throat chakra is that thought form making factory. When these are blended, they produce the highest manifestation of the fire by friction, or the third aspect of divinity, which is so powerful along the third ray line in Capricorn and Saturn. The Ajna blends and fuses the heart and throat energies, very important for those who are moving along the path of initiation from the second to the third. The Ajna expresses imagination and desire in their highest forms, imagination and desire being the dynamic factors behind all creation, and relating the spiritual triad to the personality. We'll look at this in greater depth next Sunday, or no, in 2 Sundays, in 2 weeks. We will not be meeting next Sunday. And we will read as he tells us that this veritable multiplicity of triangles from the highest points down to and through our solar system and our planetary system is the basis of all manifestation. And we find this in the triangles, the right eye, left eye, and the eye of Shiva, the all-seeing eye, which develops as the causal body, as those three centers begin to open, are utilized in selfless service. And what they relate to in reality. So for us in Capricorn, the eye of the Father, carrying the light from the Great Bear.
The activity of the heart center never demonstrates in connection with individuals. This is a basic fact. What devastates most disciples is the solar plexus ability, when purified and consecrated, to identify itself with individuals. The heart center cannot react except under group impetus, group happiness or unhappiness, and other group relations.
And thus the demand for us to work in group, as group, on all levels, physical, astral, mental, soul level, in meditation, in study, and in service. For we know that the individual etheric body is not an isolated and separated human vehicle.
The individual etheric body is not an isolated and separated human vehicle, but is, in a peculiar sense, an integral part of the etheric body of that entity, which we have called the human family. This kingdom in nature, through its etheric body, is an integral part of the planetary etheric body. The planetary etheric body is not separated off from the etheric bodies of other planets, but all of them in their totality, along with the etheric body of the sun, constitute the etheric body of the solar system. This is all related to the etheric bodies of the 6 solar systems, which, with ours, form a cosmic unity. And into these pour energies and forces from certain great constellations. The Tibetan says, the field of space is etheric in nature, and its vital body is composed of the totality of the etheric bodies of all constellations, solar systems, and planets which are found therein.
So let us, as part of this Capricorn full moon ritual, align as a group with the Antakarana. And become, in the days of distribution, the recipients of the energies entering into our planetary system connecting through Capricorn to the cardinal cross and to the omnipresence and omniscience of these unfolding higher phases of being, which DK says we inadequately cover by the word omnipotence. And we will use the Ajna center as the organ of idealism, closely related to the sixth ray, but peculiarly linked to the third ray and the third aspect of divinity, as well as to the second ray and the second aspect. And through this Ajna center, fusing, anchoring, and expressing, preparing us to look in greater depth and to move together as a group, cooperatively, and develop the third eye, the group third eye, as the distributor of soul energy. Along this great Antakarana that we build to the Christ through our connection with the hierarchy. And develop greater fusion and blending as a group through the next cycles as we move forward to the Wesak. And knowing throughout the cosmic web, there is this constant circulation of energies and forces. We know this is the scientific basis of all astrological theories. And just as these forces of the planet and of the inner spiritual person pour through the etheric body of the individual upon the physical plane and condition our outer expression, activities, and qualities, let us bring in these varying forces of the universe to pour through every part, through space, and condition our planetary expression into our group activities as pure soul expression. With the avatar of synthesis, the spirit of peace, and the Lord Buddha pouring their receptivity of these energies into and through the Christ and the triangle of Shambhala, hierarchy, and humanity.
The Tibetan tells us that our solar system is one in which sensitivity to contact is a dominant quality, and this activates our receptive impulse to ripen into love wisdom. He explains that, quote, love is response to contact, and this, in the human being, means understanding, inclusiveness, and identification. Wisdom connotes skill in action as the result of developed love and the light of understanding. It is awareness of requirements and ability to bring together into a fused relationship the need and that which will meet it, unquote.
We recognize that the monad is the third eye of the planetary logos, and we recognize the new group of world servers as the Ajna Center at this time of the planetary logos. And we say together, I strive towards cooperation. Let the master of my life, the soul, and likewise the one I seek to serve, throw light through me on others. Let us invoke the aid of the hierarchy in opening the hearts of humanity to the birth of the Christ within each and every human being as we continue in this cycle of Capricorn, bringing in these great energies available to us at the time of the full moon.
The point of light within the mind of God. Let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of man, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of man, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth.
Sound a silent Om into the head center. Sound a silent Om into the heart center. Sound a silent Om into the Ajna center.
We have been using occult meditation for some time in our healing service, and will continue in the coming year to build upon our progress, bringing the etheric body with its various force centers into such a condition that it could become receptive to impression and cooperate thereafter actively. Through the alignment exercises, we have endeavored to bring that organized instrument of service into contact with the source of inspiration and the source of impression, that is, the ashram and the soul. Now we are in a position theoretically at least, and dependent individually upon the successful action of all work previously done, to begin the task of bringing through the inspiration and impression consciously by determined contact with their sources. We move forward, merging and blending our individual project in group formation using Meditation 5, given in Discipleship for the New Age, Volume 2.
The processes of registration are founded upon what I might call invocative approaches from a wide area of possible contacts. The disciple has to learn to distinguish between these many impacts upon the sensitive aura. In the early stages, the majority of them are unconsciously registered, though the registration is acute and accurate. The goal, nevertheless, is conscious registration. This is brought about through the constant and steady holding of the attitude of the observer. It is developed through the attainment of detachment, the detachment of the observer from all desires and longings which concern the separated self. It will therefore be obvious to you that the use of the word observer involves the concept of duality and therefore of separation. In this case, however, the motive prompting the observation is not self-interest, but the determination to clarify the aura so that it can register only that which will be illuminating and related to the divine plan, which will be to the benefit of humanity and therefore to the creation of a new server within the ashrams of the hierarchy.
A statement to the group personality made by you, the soul, the disciple as a group member. In the center of the will of God, we stand. Naught shall deflect our will from his. We implement that will by love. We turn towards the field of service. As the triangle divine, we work out that will within the square and serve our fellow man. Recipient. 5 minutes of silence as the higher interlude of meditation 5.
We invite you to continue in this period of silence and then follow the next steps as indicated in Meditation 5. As the analyzer, and consider the service that you are rendering using Meditation 5 in making notes and keeping those notes over a period of a week or a month as the recipient. And then at the close of that time, we'll gather the notes together and consider the recipients in each of the centers of the triangles as we move up the Antakarana, so that we open ourselves to higher impressions. In the center of the will of God, we stand together. Naught shall deflect our will from God's. We implement that will by love. We turn towards the field of service. As the triangle divine, we work out that will within the square and serve humanity. We are the recipient.